So sometimes you get into conversations about what your favorite Bible verse is. There's so many. And if I'm pressed, the one I read in the gospel lesson would probably be it, or the parallels in Matthew or Luke. They just seem to summarize our Christian faith so well, to love God and to love neighbor. And so it seemed the perfect passage to focus in our final week of our stewardship campaign. In this campaign, we've been calling Forward Together, as we're forward together on a journey at St. Michael. We've talked in this journey at the beginning of how faith is the beginning of that journey, and we kind of even talked in terms of the journey as maybe that would be the past, God's faithfulness to us and our faith to God. And then last week we focused on hope. And hope always makes us think about the future. And I made the comment last week that when we think about the future, it's how we live in the present that creates our future. So this morning, we end with focusing on living in love in the present. Living in love. And this scripture passage does such a great job of teaching us about love. Jesus gets asked about the greatest commandment, and he draws from Deuteronomy 6:5. Love the Lord your God, and not just a little bit, but in your heart. And in the ancient world, they thought of the heart as the center of all you are as a human being. They knew that without your heart functioning well, your life ended. So your heart, where we think of it meaning your feelings, in the ancient world, it meant your feelings, your mind, your body, everything you are, all of your heart. And Jesus says, and your soul as well. Your soul or your spirit is your life. Your breath, the word literally means breath. And there's the connotation in it of how God breathed life into us. So it's God's life in us. Love God with all your soul and with all your mind, all of your comprehension, all of your understanding, both intellectually and your feelings. And all of your strength, all of your capacity, all of your ability. I love how Jesus says, everything you are, love God. And then you gotta love Jesus. He always throws in a bonus. Jesus always gives you more than you ask for. And he says, he wasn't asking, but he says, and the second is important as well. Love your neighbor as yourself. In the same way that you regard yourself, regard your neighbor as well. A wonderful passage to focus on love. One of the ways I often think about God's love is exactly what I illustrated to the kids. And you could, maybe you couldn't see it or you could hear it, the excitement in them. You're like, more. That God's love so fills us that we have the opportunity to let it overflow into a world that's desperately in need of more love. We have the opportunity every day to live that out personally. You can wake up in the morning, even before you've left your bed. You can pray, God, I love that you love me. Let me live that love. Let me overflow that in my day. You could start with your family, the people you might interact with right away, trying to just do something kind and loving for somebody in your household. Or when you go out into the world, to think about how you could interact with love. There's a scene I really like in a movie. It's called Unbreakable, and the character in it finds out he's actually a superhero, and he can sense the bad in other people. And there's a scene where he goes to, it's shot locally, it was down in 30th Street Station in Philadelphia, and he spreads his hands out, and he can sense the evil in others. But I think about it this way. I think about going out into your day and kind of metaphorically spreading your hands. Where can I spread some love? Where can I offer some kindness? I mentioned to the kids, more often than not, I put on a bracelet that says, choose kindness. Where can I spread some kindness? When I'm at the convenience store, can I say hello or good morning to the clerk and just chat up with them a little bit and spread a little bit of love? When you talk to the customer service person, I almost always, when I talk to somebody on customer service, I start with, how's your day going? You know, just because it's one of those tough jobs people have in requests, just a little bit of kindness. When you're in your workplace, when you're in your neighborhood, when you're at the gym, wherever you are, just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of love overflowing from God. There's all kinds of ways to spread that kindness. I'll mention one in particular. I'll highlight it again in the announcements later. On the back tables are some Advent resources. Advent starts next week. And one of those resources is the Good Gifts catalog, where you can buy gifts rather than buying somebody in your family for Christmas something that they may not need anyway. You can give a gift for someone in need somewhere in the world in their honor. We've started doing this in our family. When I saw those were available, I said, I'm going to provide them to St. Michael, a way to provide some love. Or I heard a great example of that this week. I was visiting one of our older members who recently ended a whole bout with cancer and had to have radiation. And strangely, the radiation wasn't the same time every day. So like one day she had to go every day. She had to go for radiation. One day it was 10 a.m. The next day is 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. Or, it's all throughout the day. And so she's coordinating every day with her family to get her for radiation because she doesn't drive. And she said some days none of them were available, so she got an Uber. And I said, that's really cool that you learned how to use Uber. She said, no, it's even better than that. Some benefactor, I don't know if it was just that cancer center or maybe multiple ones, made a significant financial donation and said anybody that needs Uber to go and get their radiation, all our member had to do was call the office, say, I need an Uber. They went ahead and scheduled it for her, and this anonymous benefactor paid for that. I said, isn't that cool? I can only imagine that that's a person who's felt God's love and had to let it overflow in doing something kind and loving for other folks. And we not only have the opportunity every day to live love overflowing from God personally, but try and live that corporately. This past week, I heard a great quote about trying to live love in terms of justice. Social justice doesn't always come naturally for me. It's a kind of a growing area for me. But this quote, I thought, I'm going to hold on to this. The quote is by Cornel West, famous professor. He was at Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and just an amazing man. And the quote is, justice is love in public. Like, I can hold on to that. That makes sense to me. We're all familiar with love in an individual, personal way. He said justice, society, governments, culture is love in public. It's a great way to hold on to love out in our world. And one of the ways we live love publicly in community is here at St. Michael. I've noticed so many times at St. Michael when there's somebody who's ill, somebody's got a problem, there are others praying for them and asking about them and concerned about them. It's love communally. I've noted how folks who are new to St. Michael have made to be feel welcome and a part of this community. It's love publicly. Especially at St. Michael, there are all these opportunities. I've said this before, it always seems to me it's like we finish one loving thing and then it's right on to the next thing. There was LCH, community services for health services for those in need, and then that ended, and then we jumped right on into CACs. Did a great job with CACs, over 200 bags for folks who are hungry, as Randy mentioned earlier. We jumped right on into that. And I kind of wondered, well, what's next? And then in our church newsletter, the opportunity to buy Christmas gifts for those in need in our community. It's like we end one thing and then we look for what's the next way that we can be a blessing. It's the opportunity to be personally generous and loving and communally. And that's one of the great things about a church is it causes us to think about some of those things. I wouldn't have researched LCH and made a donation, or probably wouldn't have looked into CACs or the opportunity to give Christmas presents, but as we gather communally, we offer those opportunities to be loving. And not just those things, but you probably know St. Michael also has the commitment that 10% of the budget also goes to reach out to and connect and support ministries in this area. So it is that as we end the stewardship campaign, we hope that, I think, St. Michael is worth investing in. This last week of the campaign, we're asking people to make sure that you filled out a pledge card. On the back tables, there are pledge cards. You can fill them out and drop it in the offering plate. Or if you're gathering with us online or you watch this later this week, you can go on the church website, click the Giving tab, and there's a link there that you can make that pledge for the finances of 2022 at St. Michael. I learned a little bit this week about the pledging at St. Michael, and St. Michael has an amazing history of folks pledging. In years previous, it was over 60% of the active families at St. Michael pledge. That is a great percentage. It's better than any congregation I've been connected with. However, that percentage has dropped, like Randy mentioned, in St. Michael and in many congregations during the pandemic. And we're hopeful that we can get back to that same level. So again, we'd request that folks make a pledge for 2022. That's good for St. Michael. It allows the financial leaders to plan appropriately for next year's budget. But it's also good for us because it lives into what Jesus described. It's loving God, investing in something that God believes in, and loving our neighbor in that way. Let me end by just saying personally, this is something that my wife and I have always done to support the congregations that we've been a part of. My first week here at St. Michael, I made sure I went on our church website and clicked on the regular giving and gave significantly at St. Michael every week. And I do that because I trusted that St. Michael was worth investing in. And I have not been disappointed in that. I can honestly tell you, I don't think there's a week that hasn't gone by at St. Michael where I have not seen how this congregation is a blessing to somebody in some way or another. Let me tell you one quick story of that. Our faith formation team did a great job over the summer and said, we're going to get back into Sunday school and put all the right details together for that, and put the program back together, and did a great job of outreach to folks, and happened to connect with one family that hadn't been as well connected at St. Michael, and their kids started coming to Sunday school, started coming to worship, to be blessed. And they had a little bit of a crisis in the family, and I reached out and made a phone call just to check in and see how one of them was doing. And this guy, he said, I can't tell you how much it means that you reached out and connected with me. And of course, that was me, but it was really us. That was really St. Michael connecting and ministering to him and his family. And I've heard that again and again and again at St. Michael. I can't tell you how much it means that you reached out and made a connection. That's what we do together here at St. Michael. That we would know God's love, and we would love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And we would love our neighbor.